Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Stephanie Dahl with Dahl Fisher, your estate planning, probate, business, and real estate attorneys here in Denver, Colorado. And today we are so fortunate to have with us Tonica Johnson. And I have met Tonica through different kind of events I have been at. And she is a college planner, I guess you can kind of describe a little bit better. And I know these things probably existed way back when I applied for college, but I didn't know about it. And it would have been so incredibly helpful. Not that I didn't love my experience at CU Boulder, but it would have been really helpful to know. So Tonica, thank you for being here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. And you're right, the name is kind of funny. It can be college counselor, college planner, education consultant. So yeah, basically I work independently outside of a school. I'm not associated with a high school. I'm not associated with any particular college. I just work for families to help them navigate that whole journey that can start as early as freshman year, picking their classes, giving recommendations for different activities to participate in over the summer. And then, of course, it picks up more helping students decide their majors, the best fit schools for them, their applications, all of that. Same as you, when I got into it, I definitely didn't have someone to guide me. And for me, I, again, loved my experience, do not regret it. And I always tell people, can you do this yourself? Surely, but it's nice to have guidance. For me, it was more the debt piece. I loved my school, but I'm still paying for that. Wonderful experience. And really, it's just because I didn't know there were other options that would have come at a lower price, honestly. So yeah, I used to be a teacher. I taught in a high school for a while and noticed that there wasn't a lot of support with the college planning part. So a few years ago, I transitioned out of the classroom to do this.
Awesome. And I think what today I'd love to know a little bit more about is just kind of some basic information, because a lot of people don't even know that you're out there, right? We don't know what we don't know. And so who do you work with? Like, what is that kind of perfect sweet spot for you to work with students on?
Yeah, I mean, it depends really. My clients do kind of run on a spectrum. I mean, in general, it's students that definitely know they want to go to college too. So that's the first caveat for sure. I'm not convincing anyone to go to college. I don't think it's the only path or the best path for everyone by any means. But for students that have decided, yes, college is for me, those families that, like you said, parents that don't kind of understand the process, and most people don't. There's some parents that come to me, they're like, well, we didn't go to college, so we don't know how this works. And
Mhm.
then there are parents that said, we did go, but that was enough years ago that it's so different now. So anyone that feels like, and some high schools do have a counselor dedicated specifically to the college stuff, and the families feel like they're taken care of, wonderful. That's what I want for everyone. But those families that feel like they're getting kind of no guidance from their school, no help in choosing their schools. I know a lot of students come to me and say their counselor kind of recommends a couple state options, and they're kind of curious, what else is out there? Are there better options for me? So that's usually the kind of people that come to me when they start realizing, seems like this is a big world. There might be other options out there we don't know. But like you just said, the people that realize, well, we don't really know what we don't know. And we hear about these scholarships and we hear about these affordability programs and things like that. But we need someone to guide us through all of that.
Absolutely. And how many colleges and universities are out there about?
I mean, geez, there's like over 4,000 if you're including all like community colleges, things like that. And then 2,000-ish of the traditional, if you will, four-year schools. So a lot.
It's hard, right, as a parent to be like, I don't know. I don't know what these schools have, because, right, there's all these different majors, there's all these different, activities or focuses or whatever. And so I think for as a parent, I also don't have time to research 2,000 or 4,000 universities and schools and figure it out. And obviously I know you don't have them all off the top of your head, but you have a really good, breadth and depth of these colleges to know when a kid tells you, I'm interested in this, to kind of guide them into a place where, okay, well, these are some options that you may not have even known about.
Yeah. Yeah. And deeper qualities about these schools. There are some colleges now you can quite literally design your own major. If a student, they kind of have to present their idea and what classes they would take to end up with that program that makes sense. But literally they can major technically at some of these schools in whatever they want. So they can combine their interests. And if a student is so driven and motivated to do so, that there's great schools out there that foster that kind of almost, it's not even uncertainty. It's just, there's nothing right now that I set want to do, but I have a few interests. Can I mold them and make my own program? There are certain schools that, culturally might not be great matches for a student, whether that's their race, their sexuality, their political affiliation, whatever that is. Yeah, there are some places that might not be as accepting or safe for them. And if you don't know, the school's not going to come out and say, this will be a great place for you. They want anyone they can get, kind of thing. So yeah, I like you said, it's just a you don't know what you don't know kind of thing. It's time consuming. And that's what I spend my time doing, is learning about all of these things to help families through that.
Absolutely. And you kind of mentioned it earlier about, the cost of colleges, and not to date myself, but a semester at CU Boulder was maybe 4 figures. It is not that anymore. And I remember, thinking like, I can't afford to go to a private school. I can't afford to go to an out-of-state school. And I think that's a lot of concerns for families is, to pay for $250,000 in schooling, they can't do it.
Right.
So is that true that your state schools are your only kind of your less expensive options? And we have some amazing state schools here. Or are there other options for people?
Yeah, so like you said, it's never that it's a bad thing if people end up at the state school. You're right. We have schools that people pay double price to come out of state for all day.
Yeah.
So clearly they're great. There's nothing wrong with the normal state flagship school, but for some people that's not what they want in the sense of it's too big or what so have you. So yeah, exactly what you said. Private schools, often their price tags are terrifying, right? 60, 70, so there are a few schools right now that are over $80,000 a year. I know, and it's only climbing. I'm sure who knows? I'm sure we'll still be alive when it's six figures. Seriously, at some of these places, it's wild. But you're right. They know that they're expensive. They know that most people, I mean, some, but most people can't or don't want to, quite frankly, pay that much, even if you have it. So it kind of goes back to supply and demand. They do offer very large scholarships to the right candidates, of course. Yeah, when if students are getting, C's and D's, I'm not going to sit here and act like a private school is going to throw all this money at them. No.
Yeah.
But especially a lot of the students that are coming to me are pretty strong students, and they got all the things going on. They've been told to do activities, and it's very, very likely that there is either an out-of-state public, if that's more interesting for whatever reason, programs, or private schools that are going to end up being same cost of publics. And I mean, I'm working with a few families right now that the private schools are actually less than our state schools after all their scholarships have been awarded.
Wow, that's amazing. So when is a good time for a family to start working with you? Is it, my kids are 6 and 8, so like now, or is it when they're senior, or I guess you apply your junior year, like junior year? What's the best time?
Yeah, so I mean, best earlier, I have to say, is best for me. So I can always get in there and help, like I mentioned earlier, the classes, and just start developing them, teaching them little things, right? What's the difference between really a college and a university? Most people don't even know that, right? So some basic education. I sign up some freshmen, but honestly, I kind of just want them to enjoy their lives, do their things. But that classes thing, it is nice to just have an advisor, I think, on your side. So 9th, 10th grade is nice. And then it's very common though for people to come to me junior year, because that's when it starts feeling really real, right? They're taking standardized tests. Maybe their teachers are actually starting to talk about college this, college that. A senior year is not too late, but we all are very rushed at that point. And like you said, we're filling out applications, all of that. But if students already kind of know their schools, they just want to elevate their applications and make sure they're adhering to due dates and timelines. That's something I work with them on as well.
Perfect. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, they want to just kind of inquire about your services, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, so if they jump straight to my website, which I'm sure you'll link or something, just cardinalcollegeplanning.com. There's an easy way to schedule a free, just asking some questions consultation on there. And then from there to email is usually the best way. I'm on webinars a lot, trying to, learn all the things. So it's hard to reach me sometimes by phone, but I can send you over my email too. It's just tjohnson@cardinalcollegeplanning.com.
Perfect. And we will put all this in our newsletter. And the last thing that I just thought about is, I know you here in Colorado, but do you work with only students in Colorado, or do you work all over the country?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do work all over the country. I am 100% virtual. That is always good for families to know. I know for some students that doesn't quite work, and they might need to find a consultant that does do in person, but yep, 100% virtual. So I have clients from coast to coast, quite literally, so I can work anywhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today, Tonica. It was so good to chat with you. And like I said, we'll put all of Tanika's information so you can reach out to her if you have questions. Even if you have a middle schooler and you're like, all right, when's a good time? Or you have a junior or senior, just reach out and kind of get some more information, because the more you know, the easier it is to kind of navigate this whole process. So thanks so much, Tonica. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Hold on. I'll cut this part. I just got to figure out how to stop recording. There we go.